Hey, welcome back to MVP Hot Wheels. This is Diesel Mac, and I got a couple things in the mail. One was from Walter here, and the other one from Chuck. So let's go ahead and get into that, and we'll talk about the elephant in the room a little bit, maybe. I did put up to potentially sell the whole collection. I'm not doing it in pieces. I've had a lot of people contacting me and wanting certain pieces. I don't like selling, in general. And I don't like box. Actually, I don't like the part of shipping. But that part becomes a pain. I think I'd probably get more if I wanted to get a bunch of boxes and all kinds of stuff like that, and collect payments and fine wrapping stuff. It's just it's not my I prefer to one fell swoop you get all, who knows, 30,000 cars, and kind of do it that way. You can come pick it up, and that it will include everything, right? Even my favorite stuff isn't necessarily the most expensive stuff. So you get all of it. I put 250,000. Some people kind of balked at the price. And that's okay. I've been collecting for 30 years. I've got stuff that nobody has, or nobody collectively has in their collection, like this one. So, I've probably got maybe $1,000, $100, $100 cars, and above. I've got, there's a couple $1,000, red lines sitting right there. So, I think the price is pretty fair. If somebody came to me with a hard offer around that price, maybe a little bit cheaper, I might take it, because I'm, at the chapter in my life where it's, I'm 45. I've been wanting to build a house for quite a while. The fluctuation in the market and everything and stuff, and maybe between, I think I've had 4 jobs since I retired from the military, right? Kind of up and down from that point of view too. So I want to get the house built, get that into the next chapter of my life, and then then we can kind of see where it goes. Everybody's like, oh, you're getting out of the hobby. Probably not. I love Hot Wheels. If it wasn't, if I could get my house and quickly and keep the Hot Wheels, I would probably do that. So we'll kind of see. Somebody comes with a real offer, somebody really wants to dig into everything I have. But like I said, I've got stuff that's not in guides. I've got cars, from play sets that you won't normally see, and just the tough variations. And with that, every variation that have found, that isn't separated in a lot of your guides, all the base variations and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. So there, we kind of went through it. I'm not going anything crazy. I just, would like to build a house, and then move into that chapter of my life. And then, if we have, if I got the means when I'm building the house after I sell the collection, to have a space to start putting up display cases and everything, then I'm sure I'll be collecting again. I'm sure I'm going to collect again anyway, but I'm just saying I'd rather do it methodically and some way somewhat organized. Right now I feel like I'm buying like anything and everything that I don't have, which becomes kind of crazy at times. But yeah, I'll do it in some type of form or fashion, and it'll probably fall apart because something shiny will be available for sale that's outside of my organization part of it, and then it falls apart. But it'll be fun. So I like to hunt, I like to chase, I like to find the stuff, I like to be on eBay, I like to see what comes up on Facebook that I don't have. So that part I think is the most fun. And then when you have a case and you put in that last car for whatever series or casting or whatever the case is, and you're like complete, right? Like that's kind of the coolest part. So like that feeling is the best part for me, finding that stuff. So anyhow, like I said, I got a couple things in. So Walter sent this. He knows the DeLorean is one of my favorite cars, and I have a bunch of different ones. So this is awesome. I don't go out and buy a lot of stuff at the regular store. I live in a really small town, and between here and work is a couple of dollar stores, and even then they're usually got 1 or 2 cars, nothing crazy. So so I don't go out too much on that regard. I have to go to Richmond if I want to get to a Target or Walmart or whatever. So this is cool. I appreciate it. And that will go in with the other one. So maybe I'll make a quick video of opening that today and putting it in with the other DeLoreans and in the Turismos from before. So I do have all of the Turismo variations finally. So that's pretty cool. Even the Italians. So that was a fun one to get, but it is one of my favorite cars. So all right, he sent me one of the new Ferraris. So a lot of you know that Ferrari, they didn't have the trademark, or they weren't allowed to sell Ferraris or make a lot of Ferraris. And then now they've got it back. So here's one of the newer ones. Pretty cool. So pretty sweet to see that. And then here's my favorite. I won't say my favorite. The DeLorean's awesome, but I love the 90s stuff. So here is a car I've been after for quite a while. This is a 5-pack Camaro Z28. The only way you can get it with super tough 7 spokes. So there you go. Awesome. I really appreciate it. I know you kind of had to give this up for, I'm sure, something else, as that usually seems to be the case. People sell when they want to get something else free. Doesn't have any interior. Look at that. So when you got the earlier ones and they got black windows, it's because there's no interior in these. So, and they've still got some weight. This is a all metal car too, so pretty cool. So thank you, Walter. Appreciate it. All right, and then stuff from Chuck. I got some other boxes still supposedly coming in. So I can't wait for some of that stuff. Again, like I said, I'm not getting out of hobby, but if somebody wants a mostly complete, one of the most complete 70s to 90s Hot Wheels collection, like, it's available right now. Oh, we got keychain this time. Check that out. Sweet. I'll be definitely putting that on mine. I only have like 2 keys on my regular keychain, so this will be fun. I'll put that on there. And it'll go with my bottle opener. So thank you, Chuck. And got some different stickers. Love it. Got the candy. Move that out of the way. And he naturally boxes everything up really well. So let's slide the whole thing out at once here. Get all the popcorn off. Oh, got a bunch of Static Cling. So, and if it sells, I'll be back once, like I said, everything kind of settles, gets the house going, and obviously until we get the house built, I probably won't buy anything because I don't have any storage except for the garage I build, and that's gonna be full of our house furniture and whatnot. Until the house is built, so that will be another thing to wait until we got the space again. So got some pretty cool stuff here. Keeps all those price tags on there so you know what I paid for them. Check that out. One of the newer ones. I love it. Like trucks, obviously. So here it is, the Super Treasure Hunt. Packaged super nicely. Make sure nothing happens to it. So, Studebaker Champ 63. This thing is awesome. I got a bunch of different cases. So what a cool way to store. This is, what do we call this? Oh my goodness. So if you were on the auction with us, we were joking around about a lot of stuff that was kind of happening. So I think we called this the Diddler Award. Because we were joking, we were making P. Diddy jokes. And I just happened to win after the joke, so I called it the Diddler Award. Kind of funny. Check this out. So started getting into early enamel stuff. So awesome piece here, really good shape. Look at that base, nice and shiny. Ferrari. Another sweet piece, early red line, El Rey Special. Nice little gunmetal base on that one. So this is kind of what my collection is full of here. This is a good, how do we want to put it, collaborative, stuff in this box right here. Check this out. This thing is super clean. Sometimes this gets a little cracky on there, that glow in the dark paint stuff they have on here, and the tips are perfect. Even the mirrors, side mirrors, no chips on those. This is in better shape. There are some different base variations, so if you're a base variation guy, this car has a bunch of them, or at least two that I know of. So I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I know there's at least two base variations for that. And that one's super clean. That's cool. Early run Warpath for the flying colors. So I believe it was called the AMX2 at one point, even earlier. So got its new name. You see there, it's on the bar and stuff. But super nice. There's a bunch of different base variations on this one. So it says U.S. patented, foreign patents pending, and then there's I think one that says U.S. and foreign patents pending. So there's a little bit differences on this one for bases as well, and then you can get a black base also. And this one here, we'll leave that, move that out of the way. So, P911 Turbo. Check this bad boy out. So this is in much better shape than the one that I have with this particular base variation. This has the double bar with Hong Kong, so there's base variations on these, and this thing pretty clean. You got a couple of chippies up there in the corner on the spoiler there, but this is definitely a tougher base variation that I've seen on these so far. And then crazy thing is, look at that big steering wheel. There may be some steering wheel variations from these years. Something else to look at. So I try to document all that type of stuff. If somebody were to, buy the collection and really want to take it serious, I might even throw in the website rights and stuff like that if you want to continue my my work and whatnot on there. But that would be something to have a conversation with down the road. Not even sure why I got this, other than it was still in the package and give me that example to put on the website. So but there's a French piece. So like I said, this is pretty indicative of what you get in the collection here from these two mail calls, and we are all over the spectrum, I would say. You got early enamel red lines, you got flying color red lines, you got French pieces, you got 5-pack cars, you got playset cars, you got some super and regular treasure hunts, a case, and then some even newer stuff. So awesome collection available right now, so I can build my house, and then I'll just build it again because it's fun. So but appreciate it, Chuck. Appreciate it, Walter. If you have any if there's any questions you guys have about the collection or just this stuff in general or anything, throw them down in the comments. Alec, I finally got your stuff out. I put some more stuff in your box too, since it took so long for me to get that out. I was swamped at work. I didn't get away all week. In fact, I ordered 2 medium pizzas, and I ate that for 4 days, so I didn't leave for lunch for most of those days. But so Alec, your box is there. I think they said it'd be there Thursday since you're in Minnesota from here in Virginia. So look forward to seeing that if you're watching the video. Everybody else should have gotten their boxes that won a giveaway prize on the last live video. So those should all be there. I think I've seen a couple of them respond saying that they got their box. So thanks for watching the giveaway. I'll keep making some videos here and there for, while the collection's here. If nobody puts up, the money for the full collection, I'm not selling it in pieces. I'd have to be pretty kind of hard up to sell it. I'm not in that kind of position where I need, if I sell 3 or 4 pieces, it's not gonna, get the house going. So I'm not gonna worry about trying to do that or anything. That would just kind of stretch it out, and then I'll have Hot Wheels, and then I'm buying Hot Wheels. And what sense does that kind of make if I don't have the end goal complete, and still trying to buy and whatnot? So, but yeah, any type of questions, if you're a serious buyer, I've got probably 1,000 of those cases at least downstairs that have 26 cars in them. Some of them have more cars, some have less, because it's by casting, so it's not like it's going to fill up every slot in every case. But some castings, take up more than one case, and if it's got 2 or 3 extra cars in there, I'm not going to waste a whole case. So there'll be extra cars in a bunch of them. I know a bunch of them do have that. And if they're really, skinny cars, I can get 2 in all the regular slots as well, not just the top slots of those cases. And I got a bunch of 48 cases. I probably got fairly complete, not just from this one that I got in from Jason, but I already have a fairly complete, crack ups. You can have all the display cases if you want them. You can have, everything's kind of included. I don't think there's anything that could be really off limits at this point, because that's how important my, building my house is and everything. Oh, I didn't even put that in there. Forgot about that car. So, and then, stuff I've got just sitting here, right? So, super tough, there's a Leo, here's a Mexico car, here's something, your friend doesn't have. And in fact, I've got both 3 spokes sitting here still. Some more Leos. This is just sitting on the table here, right, from some of the previous mail calls in the last couple of weeks, or maybe in a month at this point. So super awesome collection, definitely one of a kind and unique, and an opportunity to really get it if you've got the money for it. Like I said, I've been collecting since 1995. Hit some lulls here and there, especially around 2004 when they came out with all them different crazy combination of cars, the what they call them, the ooze or woos cars and all that kind of stuff, and they were stretched out or comical or whatever. But picked it back up here and there, in the last, certainly went hard on in the last 5 years, on getting stuff that I didn't have and stuff that I could afford that I couldn't get before. So pretty crazy collection. So if it's from the 70s to the 90s, I probably have it. There's a handful of cars that I'm still missing, some 5-pack cars, some some expensive variations. I don't have like the Real Rider AOK, and it just hasn't aligned in a time that I had the money to get it when it was for sale, basically. But I've been looking to get one. Trying to think of some other super heavy hitters that I don't have a lot of the red line flying color stuff, so all those alternate color stuff. I do got a pretty complete Super Chromes collection, so I've got, I think, most of those, if not all of them. There might be like the Porsche 917 variations that I might be missing, But I got the heavy Chevy and all that kind of stuff, both variations of that. Um, I'm just trying to think of all the craziness that's available. Auto City stuff, cool toys. I went crazy on a bunch of that kind of stuff. As long as it was, had Hot Wheels bases. So stuff that's not Hot Wheels bases still in the package. I do have probably 500 to 1,000 cars in package. I do got a couple of, the hard to find collector number stuff in package still. I did get rid of, a lot of the regular, ones. I say regular ones, but like the Troop Convoy and the Jeep. I can't Roll Patrol and stuff like that. That was kind of one of your, some of your medium hitters, I guess you can say it that way. So I got rid of one, those because it was easier to get those out of package than keep them in package. I've got all the Mountain Dew cars except for the Macaw one, although some could argue that the Zellers one is the same as the Macaw, where the base is scratched off. But I've definitely got all the other bases, and the light green ones, all those. Those would go. The Vectors, even the Blackwall Vector, I got 2 of those. That's one of my favorite cars. Those would be available. And yeah, I'm just trying to think of highlights. I mean, I've got a good jump on the Leos. I won't say what percentage because it's really hard to determine how many are out there, but I've got over 100 Leos for sure. If not getting close to maybe 150 at this point. I've got 75% of the Mexico pieces, and I got some of the tougher ones. I got the Cobras and stuff like that. I've got a near complete French collection. So almost everything. There's definitely some variations, but I think I have one of every car now. I'm trying to think of any car I might not have that's French, or the casting, one of every casting, I would say. And I've got the base variations for that kind of stuff too. I've got steering rigs that are French. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Probably one of the most complete collector number series that you can find that's loose, with everything. Like I said, I just made that determination probably about 8 years ago, where I opened up and most of my collector number series, except for those, like the Troop Convoy stuff, and I sold those to get variations that were, loose that I could, put to the collection. So if I were to, want to have a display of all those, I could probably put that whole thing together and only have, there's probably 5 missing. I mean, there might be some cheaper base variations I could probably pick up that are, cost more in shipping than they do and than the value of the car. So there could be some of those, but that's the only reason I don't have them, because haven't really wanted to fork out all the extra shipping all the time. But man, what else? I mean, I've got the 40 packs, I got 30 packs, I've got a ton of multi-pack, 9 stuff, exclusive cars, all in those. What else? Play sets. I got crazy play sets from the 90s. I've even got some of the big ones. So if you're looking for, some really exclusive cars that only came in some, limited run play sets, I've got those. We're talking, I think the big play set that I got, they're running like $500-600 a piece just in that one play set. And it's got 10 cars in it, that 10 or 12 that, 3 of them, you can't get anywhere else, I think. So, Italians, I got all the Italians. I got most of your 5-pack variations like that Camaro in the picture, from the 90s that are super tough. And it's everything, right? I got convertible, Leo convertibles. I still got the Camaro in the package for that one. I still got Leos in packages. I still have, RLC stuff. I mean, anything Hot Wheels from, at this point, I won't go to 68. I don't have a whole lot of Spectraflame. We'll say outside of the Spectraflame red lines, I've got, you know, a good portion of everything. So get sparse in the late 2000, 2010s. I would say I don't have a whole lot of that kind of stuff, but certainly anything from, I would even say 74 now, probably to 7 or 99. I probably have. And if there's a casting that came in those years, I continue to collect those castings beyond those years. So if it was like a regular casting car that still being made, like the 57 Chevy, I still was collecting those. Like the 56 Flash Cider here in the background is a good example, right? So those started in the 90s, like early 90s, 91, 92. So I've got all those, and then as they continue to make cars past 2000, I've got most of those variations. All the gaps that you see are convention pieces. So I just haven't gone crazy on those. Some of them are expensive and pain to find, but all your regular ones, I have. In fact, I got to put in my chrome window purple that I recently got, so I got to actually move some of those around. They're super tough, 5-pack car. I would say another $100 car easily on that. So, but there we go. I've been rambling on about my collection. If you got any questions, if you think you're interested, I'm at $250,000 for the whole collection. You'll have to come pick it up. I'll help you, put everything in. If we got to get some more cases at that point, I can get some more to kind of put the rest of these cars in. And usually people that are buying car or stuff like that have cases too, I'm sure. So, bring them and we'll fill up, everything that's kind of sitting on the table around here, and, stuff that couldn't fit in cases downstairs. So, but we'll pack it up. You're going to need a big truck. You're going to need at least 26 plus foot of box truck to take all this with you, and it's 250,000 cash, right? So bring cash, and we'll make a deal. But I'll continue doing what I'm doing until it sells, or if it sells, and if it doesn't, then I'll like I said, I'll continue on and make videos and put stuff on the website, and go from there. We're still working our way towards 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. But I didn't do any videos yesterday, Saturday. It was kind of nice. I did some stuff around the house, and there wasn't any pressure to make a video. I made this one. I had cool stuff. I might do an opening video here later today, just because it's Sunday and I like opening stuff and putting it with other like things. So we'll see what we open. But yeah, I'm not out of the hobby necessarily. If it sells, it'll just be waiting until the house built and then probably start up again. So and I enjoy it. Like I said, I love the Hot Wheels. My wife thinks I'm crazy for selling. We got people calling me and asking if everything's all right, and yeah, everything's good. I'm ready to be in the house that I'm gonna live in for the rest of my life. I've moved so many times. Being in the military, you move every 3 to 4 years or more. So I've moved probably, I don't know, 20 times in my lifetime since graduating high school at least, and I'm done with that. I'm tired of moving. I want to do it that one last time and be done with it and know that that's it. Peace of mind that comes with that. We're building on the farm. My wife wants to be with the where we got the horses and everything and cows. So that part gets over with, and yeah, I got a place for my trucks. I can't really work on my vehicles here too easily, without being in the whatever the elements are outside or on the gravel down below. So that would be nice. The first thing I'll do is build a garage to house, like I said, all the home furniture, put a full bathroom in there, and get a camper and live in the camper basically. Store our stuff in there, and then big enough to put 2 of our bigger trucks in at one time, and that way if I want to do a long-term project, I have that, and I can store my my driver at the same time. So that's kind of the plan with this. And then once that's built, have the house up for sale, take whatever equity we get from that, and then get the loan, construction loan for the house and anything that's left over from the sale of the Hot Wheels. So I do got some debt to pay off. So some of it will go to that, but the rest will probably go into buying the camper. Yeah, I've got to put fencing in around the house because right now it's going to be in the middle of a horse field. So we got to separate that out. So we'll put fencing in. We've got to put the driveway in. You've got to get the well perked. You got to get it dug. You got to get electricity out there. So there's all kinds of things that selling this would get us into, and be able to pay for quickly and get it done quickly, which is another thing. And then, we can put our stuff in the garage, move everything out of here, do some things around the house to kind of make it more presentable and a little bit more updated from some of the stuff that's here. It looks like it's from the 70s and 80s, so that it sells a little quicker and easier, and maybe for a little bit more money. And then we'll, like I said, take that money and use it to put a down payment on the construction loan for the house. So that's my goals. That's all that's going on. And if somebody wants, a really awesome 30-year crazy collection and has the money for it, let me know. Put it in the comments here. Find me on Facebook. My email is mvphwc@gmail. You can send me an email with that. And if you got questions, I'll answer questions. You want to know about specific cars, but I'm not selling specific cars. I'm not selling a casting. I'm not selling individual stuff. That just gets it. It doesn't get me to the point that I need to be as quickly. And if I got to keep my collection and continue working for the next 2 years to get into the house, then that's fine too. But I'd rather just one fell swoop, kind of, rip the Band-Aid off, I guess, or, perform the amputation. That's probably more of what that is. Because like I said, this stuff I've had some of it for 30 years. The only cars you're not getting are my childhood cars, which aren't worth anything. They're painted, they're busted, they don't have windows, they're gray, or, they're dirty, they're rusted. Those are the only cars you won't get, and there's only a case of those. So everything else is on the table. And even the cases, memorabilia, I've got tons of that kind of stuff too. Sports cards. I'm looking around the room here. Some guides. So, yeah. And then, like I said, I'd even consider the website with all the information, give you the rights to that if people were serious and we want to go through with it and you want to continue on. That'd be cool to see kind of come to fruition as well. So, but there you go. Rambled on for probably way too long. I'm sure nobody's watching at this point, but yeah, if not, like I said, I'll just keep going with it, because like I said, I do love it. I love the hobby. I love the people in the hobby. There's a lot of awesome people in here, some shitty ones too, unfortunately, but you take the good with the bad. Community usually comes together and outs some of those guys as best we can. They just change their name and make a new Facebook account or eBay account, but for the most part, we do pretty good policing our own. And there's, like I said, guys that are out there to help. I'll help with whatever I can on information. If you got cars that not really sure, especially from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I'd probably know exactly where it's from, as I probably have done the research or worked on finding it. I think there's only one car I haven't seen in a package, and that is, oh my goodness, I don't remember the name, because it's the pirate car from the tattoo machines where it's unpainted. I've never seen that car in a package, and I'm pretty sure it's a play set. But everything else I think I have tracked down and know where it comes from. And so if you got questions like that, what this car is particularly from, I probably have it from that time period and know, what set that it came from, because that's, kind of what the website's going to be doing. So, but please, I love answering stuff. I love, going through and help people out. I would say that, give it, there's definitely easy information available. Use the website that I have, mvphotwheels.com, for that stuff. You can see where, the car is, and I have the information in there for where it's from. Wiki is another, site. I don't know that it's 100% accurate, and I'm pretty sure that it's not. It's missing stuff. HobbyDB, missing stuff, and has customs. You have to watch out for that kind of stuff, fake stuff. So there's a resources out there that you could do quickly, on your own. And then if you can't find it, and I would say at that point, definitely ask questions. I see people asking questions of some of the more simpler stuff, like, where did this come from? And I'm like, well, the name's on the car is easy to find. It's like, you didn't even try, you just, kind of threw it out there. And I guess that makes sense in some cases. If you're just looking for, to spark some conversation, I guess that makes more sense too. But I'm happy to answer, questions if you got them on stuff. I'm not super familiar with like how many of the convention cars. There's a website out there I have found that kind of has some of that information on, the numbers. It's not super accurate. There's cars, variations missing from the early stuff, because I've seen it, seen them firsthand, and they're not on there. So, or have some. So, there's probably better sites for collectors or convention stuff that I don't have the knowledge on, because I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. But yeah, all right. Anyway, long enough, gone over. Thanks, Chuck, if you're still watching. Probably not. Walter, you might still be watching, so I appreciate the trade and awesome stuff, and call it the RAOK. So awesome to have these. I'm sure you're happy to have some of the stuff I sent you as well. And maybe we'll get close on trading one of the Razor Wheel Sheriff Patrols. I think we're close. Maybe a bus. I don't know. Bus and the caddy for that trade, if you're still watching. But we can talk about it. We'll figure it out. So, but thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for all the support. And if I sell the whole collection, I won't have any cars to do stuff with. So I'm not sure as far as the videos will be concerned, we'll go, but we're pretty far away from that, I think. I mean, finding the right person that has the money that wants to buy this type of collection, there's probably 3 people out there, and then then it's down to timing and all that kind of stuff, and what they have on their plate and all that whatnot. So I think there's very limited chance of that happening, so I understand that completely. But if it does happen, I don't know, we'll figure it out from there. But anyhow, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.